Leena loved abandoned places, not in a morbid way. She found beauty in decay, the way nature reclaimed what was left behind. Old houses held a particular fascination. Their crumbling walls whispered stories of the past. She imagined the lives once lived within them. Hollow Manor, a Victorian mansion on the edge of town, called to her. It stood shrouded in overgrown vines and shadowed by towering oaks. Locals whispered tales of its haunting past. Leena felt an irresistible pull. She had to capture its essence with her camera. One crisp autumn afternoon, she stood before its rusted gates. A shiver ran down her spine. The air grew heavy, filled with a palpable silence. The mansion seemed to watch her, its vacant windows like empty eyes. Taking a deep breath, Leena pushed the gates open. The rusted hinges groaned, a mournful sound that echoed in the stillness. She stepped onto the overgrown path, her footsteps muffled by fallen leaves. The heavy oak door creaked open as if it hadn't been touched in decades. Dust motes danced in the faint rays of sunlight that pierced the gloom. The air inside was stale and cold, thick with the scent of decay. Leena shivered, pulling her jacket tighter around her. She stepped into the foyer, her footsteps echoing on the marble floor. The grandeur of the mansion was undeniable, even in its ruined state. A massive staircase, its once polished banister now covered in dust, dominated the foyer. Above, a stained glass window depicted a family, their faces obscured by grime and time. Shadows clung to the corners of the room, refusing to be pierced by the weak light. A sense of unease settled over Leena, a prickling at the back of her neck. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Room after room lay in various states of disrepair. Elegant furniture lay shrouded in dust sheets, their shapes distorted by time. Paint peeled from the walls, revealing faded floral patterns that hinted at past elegance. She found a music room, a grand piano gathering dust in the center. Sheet music lay open on the stand, its notes long silenced. The air felt heavy here, as if someone or something had just stopped playing. In the library, bookshelves lined the walls, crammed with leather-bound volumes. A fire had ravaged one corner, leaving a gaping hole and a pile of charred books. She ran her fingers over a half-burned spine, imagining the stories lost to the flames. A sudden cold draft made her turn. She could have sworn she saw a flicker of movement in the shadows, a fleeting glimpse of something white. Her heart pounded in her chest. Was she alone? Hours melted away as Leena explored the mansion, her camera clicking, capturing the haunting beauty of its decay. The silence was broken only by the sound of her own footsteps and the whir of her camera, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that the silence was deceptive, that it hummed with unseen energy. She began to hear things, soft whispers that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, the creaking of floorboards beneath unseen feet. Once, while photographing a cobweb-draped chandelier, she felt a cold breath on her neck. She whirled around, but there was nothing there. The air hung heavy, charged with an unseen energy. Her pulse quickened. Fear, sharp and cold, pricked at the edges of her courage. Still, she felt strangely compelled to go on, drawn deeper into the mansion's embrace. Section 5. The Unseen Gaze. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the dusty windows, Leena found herself at the foot of the grand staircase. She had been so engrossed in her exploration that she hadn't noticed the time. The air grew noticeably colder, and the whispers seemed to intensify, swirling around her like disembodied voices. She felt a presence now, watching her from the shadows. It wasn't a menacing presence, but it was undeniably there. Looking up the grand staircase, She imagined the family that once graced its steps, a father in a top hat, a mother with a child on her hip, their laughter echoing through the halls. Now only silence remained, a heavy, expectant silence. Leena took a step back. She needed to leave to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the house. But as she turned to go, she caught a glimpse of something in the old, tarnished mirror at the top of the landing. Section 6. Mirror, mirror. A face stared back at her from the mirror. Not her own, but the face of a woman. Her face was pale, framed by long, dark hair. Her eyes were wide and filled with a deep sadness, a plea for help that sent a shiver down Leena's spine. Leena blinked, and the face was gone. Had she imagined it? The mirror was old, its surface clouded with age and neglect. It was easy to imagine things in its distorted reflection, but deep down Leena knew she hadn't imagined it. The face had been too real, the sadness in her eyes too profound. Who was she? And what was she trying to communicate? A wave of unease washed over Leena. She had come to Hollow Manor seeking beauty in decay, but she had found something far more unsettling. The mansion held secrets, she realized, and they were beginning to surface. Hesitantly, she climbed the stairs, each step creaking under her weight. The air grew colder as she approached the landing, the scent of dust and decay intensifying. As she neared the mirror, she felt a chill run down her spine. The face of the woman reappeared in the mirror, her eyes fixed on Leena's. This time there was no mistaking the ghostly image. For a moment their eyes met across the veil of time and death. Leena's breath caught in her throat. She felt an overwhelming sense of sorrow emanating from the apparition, a desperate longing for peace. The woman's lips moved, forming words Leena couldn't hear. It was as if she were trapped, unable to speak, her voice lost in the ether. Panic surged through Leena. She stumbled back from the mirror, her heart pounding in her chest. The woman's eyes followed her, her expression a mixture of sadness and urgency. Leena turned and fled, her footsteps echoing through the silent mansion. She didn't look back, didn't dare to see if the woman in the mirror was following her. She ran through the darkened halls, her only thought to escape the oppressive atmosphere of Hollow Manor. The whispers seemed to follow her, growing louder, more insistent. They seemed to be urging her on, pushing her towards the exit. She burst through the front door, gasping for breath, the cool night air stinging her lungs. Safe outside the gates of Hollow Manor, Leena leaned against a tree, her chest heaving. She looked back at the mansion, its silhouette a dark mass against the twilight sky. The windows seemed to gleam faintly, as if lit from within. Or was it just her imagination? Even from a distance, she could sense the mansion's oppressive presence. It was as if it were holding its breath, waiting for her to leave, its secrets safely guarded within its decaying walls. Leena knew she would never forget her encounter at Hollow Manor. It had shaken her to her core, forcing her to confront the possibility of a realm beyond the one she knew. The image of the woman in the mirror, her eyes pleading for help, was seared into her memory. She couldn't shake the feeling that she had been given a glimpse into something profound, something both terrifying and deeply sad. As she drove away, the image of the ghostly woman lingered in her mind. Who was she? What was her story? And why had she reached out to Leena? Leena glanced back at the mansion one last time, its silhouette fading into the darkness. A part of her, the part that was drawn to the mysteries of the past, wanted to go back, to try to uncover the secrets hidden within Hollow Manor's walls. But another part, a part that was just beginning to understand the true depths of fear, urged her to stay away. The mansion was a place of sorrow, of loss, of unanswered questions. To go back would be to risk losing herself in the darkness that clung to its every corner. As she drove into the night, Leena knew one thing for sure. Hollow Manor would stay with her, a haunting reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond the veil of the known world.